Journey into Irish Music, the podcast, episode 2, John McCann, 30-second intro starts now. John grew up in Lackawanna, New York, just south of Buffalo. He's the youngest child and the only musician. Ironic because he's the only one that wasn't forced to take piano lessons. He developed a love of Irish music from Dubliners records and the Clancy Brothers and the Ed Sullivan Show. Received his first guitar as a kid from his mother, got it from S&H green stamps. That's old school. Taught himself to play and was soon playing around the Buffalo area in an acoustic rock group called Midnight Sun. His roommate Tim Lally bartended at Niall Donahue's Irish Singing Pub, and after one night playing some Irish music after hours, Tim and John were recruited by Now to play a show. They learned as many Irish tunes as they could, and the second week there was a line out the door. Came to Pittsburgh to see a Pitt Miami game and met his future wife, and she even got him his first Pittsburgh gig at Murphy's Poorhouse. Moved to Pittsburgh permanently in 1991. The rest of they say is history. 29 seconds to the intro.
The history of Irish music is as rich and magical as the island itself. Join me as we travel across Ireland and even down to the local pub to discover what makes Irish music so fascinating. This is Journey into Irish Music. Welcome back to Journey into Irish Music podcast. Thank you for tuning back in. I am your host, Craig Mayhem, and I have an embarrassment of riches thanks to my friends who have been gracious enough to let me interview them. Last time it was Bob Banerjee, and this time it's John McCann, a stalwart of the Pittsburgh music scene, and even more so the Pittsburgh Irish music scene. And John, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast with me, and thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Before we proceed, you're listening to This Day from the album This Day by John McCann.
We start a new life, oh, and I know you'll be a true wife. This day we bond together and become one. Become one.
So we were talking before this, and we talked about your history and how you got from, to Pittsburgh in 1992.
My wife's
right?
fault, yeah.
Right outside of Buffalo, New York, born and raised, then somehow made it down to here, and it was meeting your wife, the catalyst that brought you to Pittsburgh.
That's right.
This is what hit me. You started playing the Getaway how many years ago? Or how many years did you play?
I played at the Getaway for more than 20 years. My daughter, Carly, my wife was carrying Carly when I started playing there. Carly just turned 26 yesterday.
Wow.
And she, when the owners of the Getaway, they sold the place to other people, and that's when it ended. But it was over 21 years that I played there, every Thursday for that long of a streak.
What really kept you playing Irish music? You started playing with a friend of yours for fun, but what keeps you playing Irish music?
Well, it's because it makes there's something inside of me that makes me feel that this is part of my history. My mom and dad are both Irish. Right. But I love, there's so much, a lot of people think that it's sad music, but it's not. It's funny, it's witty, it's clever, and they tell such great stories, and I love to try to express these stories the best I can. A lot of times with Irish music, that you'll see, like with American music, if a song is kind of like, if a woman is singing a song, she'll change it, even if it's about a man or different. Right. They won't change it. They won't change the sexual thing. They will say, and I loved her, if it's a woman singing or if it's a man singing. It's just like as they were reading a book, a story. They won't change to fit themselves. They're singing the song about this particular story or this incident, and they're doing it as best they can, expressing it in their way. And they don't worry about silly things that sometimes we worry about, like, oh, they're going to think this or that. No, they're just telling the story the best they can. They want to express it, and being very expressive people, it works, and that's what I love about it.
I think it's important to be able to interact and have that shared experience with the audience and entertain. That's also important.
It's more than important. I had so many friends that were so much better musicians than me. I envied they're playing so much, but they can't bear if they make a mistake, that's all they think about. You just have to roll past it. The story's not over. You can't leave them hanging. You can't, hang your head, make a joke of it, or just you owe them the rest of the story.
Right.
And you have to finish it. And some people just can't bear it. It's too much of a perfectionist, and we lose out because these people are great. But, and I myself is pretty shy, and especially in the beginning. But, as the years went by, I got to like the banter part of it a lot. And I think that kept me afloat. Like if play at a place for over 20 years, they didn't keep me there because they thought I was a nice guy.
Right.
Working, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I was making it worth their while. And, and I had a lot of regulars that would come and they would ask for specific songs, but I mean, there's a lot of the songs have so much personality, some of them, there were some songs that people want me to play that got so personal. I would say, you know what, I just can't, because it would be, there's some songs where people about the war and people dying and disfigured people. It would be too much. I'd say, I can't do that mood today.
Right. It's understandable. Absolutely. It's an emotional music, and that's something that I appreciate about Irish music is you'll see someone playing with tears in their eyes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They mean it, when they're really doing it right. I do have a funny story about two punk rockers that came in. They were twins, and they had the real long hair, and they had the leather on and the spikes and stuff. And they both talk like this. They had their real low voices. They were in a punk rock band together, and they didn't come in there initially to listen to me as much as they were just trying to pick up girls or something. So one of them's talking to the girls over, sitting. They were good-looking guys. Wow looking, but and but the other one got right as close as he could, and he was right at the corner of the bar, and he was listening to every single word I sang, and I was doing Irish rebel songs, it was a lot of there's violence and stuff, and his brother comes over to him, and I had finished the song, and he goes, "What are you listening to this guy for?" And he goes, "You got to listen to what he's singing about. He's singing about booze and people blowing cars up. He goes, people fighting and shooting each other." He goes, "It's great."
Did he ever return? No, he never returned.
That's amazing.
His bit is still unlearned. He may ride forever neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned.
You're listening to MTA by the Dropkick Murphys, covered by John McCann on the album This Day.
And through the open window, she hands Charlie a sandwich as the train it goes a-rumbling through. But did he ever return? No, he never returned. His bed is still unlearned. He may ride forever neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned.
And that's, I think that's what I tell people. I used to play heavy metal, and I'm like, well, why do you play Irish music now? I'm like, well, there's still a lot of, it's a very angry music. It can be very
well, there's plenty of anger in there, yeah.
And I just don't have to smash in anybody anymore. So that's the difference. So on that, currently, right now, in 10 minutes, your answer may be different. What is your favorite Irish song to play, and why?
Oh, that's a really hard question, especially because it's a mood thing. Some of them, there's a beautiful song that I like to sing called Maggie, and it's a song about a love that didn't turn out, but it's a song about he's singing about his past and how they thought that they were going to be together forever, And also, it's a song where a friend of mine, I played it, and he goes, that was my mother's favorite song. And so he said when her and her husband got married, that was the only record that they had, and they would dance to it. So a lot of times it pulls in these memories of friends or my parents, like a lot of my parents like the Tin Pan Alley things,
You've been listening to Maggie from John McCann's album This Day.
Maggie, the robins sang loud above the lea. When I first said I love only you.
But it was always hard for me to do Tura Lura Lura, let's say, because that's a Tin Pan Alley song. It's, not really looked upon as like, a great real Irish song. But my mother really did sing it to me. So, I can remember her when I was a child, baby, and she would sing that to me to sing me to sleep, so that can choke me up, But that's it. But I like, I like the funny ones, and we also do like Scottish stuff. There's a song called The Ramblin' Rover, and and I love that because it's a song that's telling people, have fun now, instead of, do it, while you can, don't be wasting your time, and it goes through like sober men and plenty and drunkards, men over 90, so it's explaining everybody and do, at least Jesus, at least I tried, is what and so something like that, I feel like, that's maybe relaying a message that is good and uplifting and let's enjoy what we have right now,
So you've been playing in Pittsburgh since about 92, and but now currently you you have a band.
Yeah.
A very popular, corned beef and curry band. So let's talk about the genesis of that and how that came to be. Okay,
well, that's early on when after I moved here, I wanted to get a CD out, and one of the problems for me moving to Pittsburgh, I had tons of musician friends in Buffalo. Right. I didn't know the music cats in this town, so I needed somebody that would play violin, and so I asked a lot of names, and a lot of people said, a few people said, there's this guy, Bob Banerjee, that I'm sure he could play with you, but he's so busy. He's always on the road, and I said, well, where can I find him, there was different places that he would be at, but I looked him up, and he liked to do open mic things, and he still does. Well, the song that I wanted to record for a violin player for sure was something called McPherson's Lament. That was, I was thinking of doing a lot of the songs for the CD This Day, and This Day is a song that I wrote about my wedding day, and so that's the name of the CD. But I wanted to, get some different, not loaded up with musicians, but keep it pretty acoustic. And so I went to one of these open mics, and Bob was there, and I talked to him about it, and it's an interesting story because now you know the song, right? Fearson's Lament.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I said to Bob, I want to do a song about a violin player that sung. He goes, well, that's me. I said, no, hung by the neck,
Right.
And it's because the song, like the Clancy Brothers do it, but they actually didn't do it with a violin thing at all. It was just about a violin player, and so I wanted to, have a strong violin part of it, and it has a big intro and outro that's all violin, and I asked him to come to the studio and work on it with me, and as it turned out, you know, Bob had also came to the Getaway Cafe, and he had listened to me play and stuff like that, and he would sit in and stuff, but he wound up playing on like 11 of the songs on the CD, either mandolin or violin. And it also, so I didn't know him, you know, back then. I had just met him. And he also lived here in the South Hills, and that's where the Getaway is, in the South Hills. So he would come over when he felt like it, and he would just get in and play a few songs with me, and then people were obviously impressed, you know. And he can really just, he can find the hole in any song and fill it up, you know. And he also just, he knows so much music, and he just has such a feel for it. Even if he doesn't know it, he'll find something to play that sounds good.
This is McPherson's Lament from the album This Day by John McCann.
I'll break her through the middle. He took his fiddle in both of his hands, and he broke it o'er a stone, saying there's no other hands shall play on thee when I am dead and gone. Say randomly, say wantedly.
And so people were just loving this new, and he sings, you know, so he's doing harmony, he's filling up the music, he's doing, now I finally got somebody playing the musical breaks in the middle of the song, so they're longer, right. You know, we're just better, you know, and he also made me better because, you know, it's nice to be playing music and feeling even better about it than you would normally, because he was adding something to it that I couldn't. And it really made me feel really good. And we have a good time together. See, we both have different type of sense of humor, but they match up pretty well, you know. That's where the corned beef and curry thing came from, you know. We didn't actually come up with that name. Somebody yelled at you, like, you guys are like corned beef and curry. You know, I thought, you know, that sounds pretty funny. So that's how that kind of, we didn't come up with that name.
Well, now it's iconic. Those are the best band names that you find. The best band names find you, you know? Yeah.
And even when we were still playing as just John McCann and Bob Banerjee, you know, like we'd say, some people are saying, you know, how do you like the name corned beef and curry? And, you know, we would do a little vote, and it usually would be people would like it, you know?
And also finding a musical partner is, it's a rare thing to find someone that you can mesh with performing music. Yeah, so that's a rare thing to find.
And with me, I'm a pretty solid rhythm player, but you know, that was another thing about my playing is being a solo guy so much.
Right.
There wasn't. I'm very bass conscious, you know. So when I'm playing a song, and a lot of guys will go into like a lead, but they have to drop the bass part out, and you know, if you don't have a bass player or somebody else playing the chords, it just doesn't sound right to me, you know. So I could just keep doing, you know, because I did play bass in a band, you know. So I do a lot of little bass runs. I can, but I'm still playing down at the bottom of the neck. And Bob's doing all this great stuff, you know, up high with the violin or the mandolin. And really, you know, he's very tasteful. And
one of those songs is Galway Girl. If you don't have someone playing lead.
Yeah, right.
When I play it solo, I do the lead with, you know, la 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 la. Fake it.
You know what I do? I do
yeah.
You know, because it just sucks without it. Let's face it.
Right, exactly. That's funny. That's exactly what I do. That's funny.
Yeah, you know. So I really, you know, people ask me to play that song, and if I'm by myself, I'm never happy to play it by myself, you know.
Yeah, it's missing something. It's fun, but it's still.
Yeah, it's you know, it's more of a chore when I'm by myself.
Right. And so we share another sort of kinship. Bass player. You're a bass player. How has that influenced your guitar playing style?
It does a lot, and because I like having playing bass in a band, and when you play by yourself, like it's the bottom notes are really important, I think, because it's the music is just one instrument, and so I like to do little hammer-ons with the bass notes, and a lot of people will comment that they didn't think they just, because the guitar part that is normally there is just straight ahead G, C, D, whatever, and I like to walk in and out of them, and sometimes I'll play the bass line that the bass player played in the real song. And, and it really, really makes it, so it gives it so much more body.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as long as you can get it in there without confusing yourself, because I also found that you don't have to go do the whole bass line. Just do that little segment where you can work, and then you start singing again, and then they'll remember that has more feel.
You can do like some walk downs, like Green Fields of France at the end of a phrase. I'll have a walk down on some bass.
Yeah. Well, there's a sad one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't sing that one. My banjo player has to sing it, and what I found is the older I got, the harder it was for me to play those very, very sad sentimental songs, because I could relate to them the more. When I was real young, it was just a story about other people, and then people that have gone through that, and you meet people, and you have examples, and it's, right. You get some years behind you, and I think it makes you a better live player for those experiences.
Yeah, but I do feel that I relay them well, but it takes a lot out of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, now what am I going to do?
Right, absolutely. You can't top it once you perform that kind of emotion in front of people. But it's at the end of a set, because then it's good night.
Danny Boy by John McCann and Bob Banerjee from This Day.
One of the things that is also especially nice about Irish music is you can do the rollbacks. You sing something and you have the crowd has their part and you have your part, and so and that's upbeat, fun stuff. And if you go to people are ooh, hey. like you can't segue from one to the other without like something. The universe is going to implode or something, and it's like, what?
Now that you've all wiped your eyes, get ready to clap your hands.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so. Tears in your ear, and now knock it over, jumping up and down.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of my interview with John McCann. Join me next week for the rest of the interview on Journey into Irish Music. 30-Second Bowron by Craig Mayhem. This Day by John McCann, used with permission. MTA, John McCann version. Copyright Dropkick Murphys. Maggie, McPherson's Lament. Danny Boy, traditional, performed by John McCann, used with permission. Morrison's Jig, traditional, performed by Corned Beef and Curry, used with permission. Star of the County Down by Sláinte, licensed under an attribute, share alike 3.0 United States license. Kitty McGee, traditional, performed by Craig Mayhem.